first, which you'll see on.
Blah, blah, blah.
Whoops. I should put up your shit. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Brian, Amy, Javier.
Okay.
Okay, so
your yawns
YouTube
out.
is live, so you guys can share those, and then I'm going to go live to Facebook.
Okay. And I will do the Facebook.
I don't see it.
Hold on.
I know.
I just.
My mic's not plugged in.
I think there's a.
I don't think my earphones are working.
delay.
I need to.
Oh, God, don't even bring up the...
Gabe, are my... Okay.
All right.
We are
No.
not. We
All
are,
right, so
we
now
are
Facebook
indeed
going
now-
live?
I see us. We are now
Yep.
live. Look at that.
You can see us?
Well, no, on YouTube.
Great.
Okay, I don't see it.
All right, if you're watching.
There we go. Now we are live to Facebook as well.
Okay.
Wait, there isn't.
Seems so quiet in there. Do we normally play music or something? I'm so
no.
confused.
I don't know.
No.
We're usually just
Doesn't
chatting.
feel
We're
right.
talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
different things.
See, but
But I don't. Do you see a
need
share
tip-
button? I don't see a share
Look
button.
I see you guys.
I don't see anything.
Well, I see. I don't. But I see the thing. There's no share button.
See, I'm on this, right? Gabe?
This is fun.
I'm having fun.
Let's see. Here we go. Just had to refresh
This is
it.
just
Now, well,
giving
actually, hang on. I can
Gen
look for
Z
this.
more fodder to make fun of Gen X.
Yeah, we're looking
They
a
don't.
little old here. To
They
start
don't make
off,
fun of
but-
us. They
They
Oh,
revere
they
us.
ignore
here's
we
share.
ignore we
They
exist.
ignore us.
They
I'm
ignore
doing
our
share.
existence.
And you wanted me to do
That's how we
share
want it.
to X.
Wait,
All right.
there's no fucking share button.
Yeah, I guess that we'll have to deal with after. I'm not sure.
Wait, just. Oh, there. Wait, no, I found it. I got it.
Okay, I did.
There's a share
I
button.
did just do it to
X
X.
on the Wrong About Everything account.
Ladies and
I
gentlemen,
literally
the
just said I was
more
gonna do that.
geriatric version of Wrong About
no,
Everything
I'm
will be
on-
starting
I'm on-
shortly.
I'm all set
I'm
and
on the
sharing,
YouTube.
Gabe.
I need you to shut the fuck up, Gabe. I heard that.
Very vibrant.
Wait, so you did it on X?
I did the YouTube shared it to X.
Yeah, no, that's literally what I said
That's,
I was going to do.
that's what you told me to do.
No, I said I was going to do it. Then I said you should reshare it from your account.
It's like Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau all
Shut up.
over again.
Shut up over there.
My Oscar? Why am I always Oscar?
I'm fucking quitting.
So much swearing.
Oh, right. Oh, not right. We'll get demonetized. Take that back.
Okay, now I'll do it to mine. There we go.
Wait. No. Profile.
Hey, and anyone who's out there watching, you can feel free to share this episode just to get everyone the pump primed. I know how exciting this might be.
We're going to be a little rusty.
Yeah, it's been
A little bit. I am too. Like everything feels wrong right now.
Thank
rusty.
See, my phone
It
is
is
on.
wrong about most things.
All right.
Hold on.
But we have a great episode. We're back.
Yeah.
Been a long
Let's
time?
not overpromise.
Okay. It'll be we'll be here.
It'll be an episode.
It'll be live.
It'll be an episode.
Just as a reminder of what you've been missing, we got Javier's Flagman shirt.
Hey, Mister.
What?
You know what this motherfucker said to me? He's like, "Oh, you came back looking exactly as I remember you." I said, "What?" Like super gay.
Well, look what he's wearing.
And then he hit my tush.
Oh, well. So there you go.
Yeah, give him a little whack on the ass. It's a little
I'll alert
encouragement.
HR.
I didn't say I didn't like when he keeps it tight.
All right.
I've changed too over these 6 months.
God, it's been a long 6 months.
Yeah, it has.
Some would say we're
Been
born
lonely.
that way, Gabe.
Long, lonely 6 months for Gabe.
It's more like you came to realize it. All right, and then open
All right.
the Book of Faces. We're about to start, folks.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're a little.
We kind of forgot how to do it.
I mean,
You guys let me know when it's time, and we will kick this sucker off.
I think we're ready.
We think we're
Are
ready?
we really?
yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Put on the thing.
It's about to happen.
When the
on.
boys are on, am I not going to be on?
Correct. I mean.
No. I have another shot with all three of you.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
I think you're going to want my reaction shots to these.
I
two.
think so too. It was just a pre-show thing.
She's already like.
She's already demanding more screen time.
Diva.
That's
Oh,
not what I'm saying.
the queen of Al Jazeera over here.
All right. Here we go.
Support for Wrong About Everything comes from Minnesota's credit unions. Credit unions are locally based, member-owned financial cooperatives that return earnings to members through higher savings rates, lower loan rates, and reduced fees. Visit mncun.org for more information.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wrong About Everything podcast. I am conservative strategist and Twin City Sugar, Brian McDaniel.
And I am former Republican Senate Majority Leader Amy Koch.
I am progressive strategist and the Puerto Rican heat, Javier Murillo.
And we are
Wrong
About Everything.
Where the hell have you people been?
Have you been waiting here the whole time? I'm really sorry.
Yeah,
Were you coming in every Wednesday?
Every
Did
Wed-
we
every-
forget to tell
every
Brian?
Wednesday. Every Wednesday.
Sorry, Brian.
It's like just picking on the fat kid.
You just showed up maybe today.
Very dutiful.
I brought some beer, guys.
Is it my turn to bring orange slices?
No. We have an allergy.
Yeah. We're back.
We're
The
back.
last time we were on, Amy and I had a somber conversation where we talked. If we can recap, did you just turn off Amy's mic?
No, I turned it on because I can't hear her very well.
It was on.
Oh, move,
Gabe?
move closer to it.
Can we
Believe me,
get,
we can
I got
hear
a
her.
cold mic.
Yeah.
Okay, let this just be a warning at the beginning that we're out of practice. It's been a while. It's a
just
little
assumed
clunky.
she
The
was
show's
doing it
probably going to be long today because we got a lot to catch up on. I
I would say it's been a long 6 months. It's been a long week.
Well, just say we decided a few weeks ago that this would be the week. And we had lots of fun surprises we were considering. And then, things kind of took a turn.
They did. They took a turn.
They took a turn.
Right. This wasn't like we went.
Literally.
We didn't come on Monday and go, oh, we got to get a show. We've been planning it for weeks. If people have been watching the teases, we've been at this.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact that we talked about that in that last episode that was just you and me. I talked about the thing I've been talking about for a very long time about my fear about the potential for political violence, about the dissolution of civil society and that sort of thing, like all these things. And I have been the doom and gloomer, and you guys have laughed at me for that. That's not fair. I think, you went from laughing to like, God damn it, Javi's right.
Or like, oh, it's not right.
We'll give you partial credit for this
He's
one.
not right.
Just
Partial credit?
This wasn't exactly what you were talking about. It was close.
I remember very distinctly saying that I expect political violence and who knows where it'll come from or who it'll be directed at Lord. But so I think we should at first just sort of little table setting, but first table setting is like apparently we still have a sponsor.
Because
sponsors.
while you are loyal listeners, we want to very much thank you for your patience. We also want to thank our sponsors who were very understanding on why we took a break and were very dutiful in checking in with us, saying, when the heck are you guys coming back? And also very gracious when we gave them the time where we were coming back, saying, yes, absolutely. They wanted to continue to sponsor us. So we want to welcome all of you and ourselves, I guess, back to the Minnesota Credit Union Network studios, deep within the recesses of NBC studios here in...
I assume Tranche Master General Ryan Smith was also coming in every Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, he and I sat in the parking lot drinking, Michelob Ultras,
Nice.
doing what people do. So, but anyway, we want to thank the fantastic people at the Credit Union Network for being so excited that we're coming back. We also have some things.
Is our lawyer still with us?
Our lawyer is still with us.
No way.
Yes.
Huh.
Yes. And by lawyer,
Look,
you mean
he,
Bradshaw and
he
Bryant?
hasn't quit, and he doesn't represent squealers.
Snitches.
snitches.
I don't
Snitches.
represent
No,
snitches.
no.
That was
So-
the most
Or
hardcore thing.
squealers. He wouldn't like squealers
That
either.
was the most hardcore thing anyone's ever said on,
was so
because it was
badass.
so. It was like no, I don't represent
I
snitches.
fell in love with him right that day. I was like, oh.
Like, damn.
Well, before we get to Mike Bryant, we also want to make sure to thank our producer Gabe, who also was very understanding and kept our time slot open for us, and is as excited as we are.
And also came in every Wednesday.
He also came in every
Was here.
Wednesday, though we didn't give him any beer.
No, we not giving it.
I signed a piece of paper saying I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But Gabe, thank you so much for that. We really appreciate that, and we're gonna have some big things coming in the upcoming weeks, and Gabe's gonna be a big part of that, and that is fantastic. But we also want to thank Mike Bryant and the whole team at Bradshaw and Bryant, where their entire team of attorneys and staff is dedicated to providing you the legal advice you need, combined with the service and personal attention you deserve. If you have questions about how they can assist you with a personal injury, wrongful death, or criminal defense matter, do not hesitate to contact them. Consultations are free. Please contact them at 800-770-7008 or at minnesotapersonalinjury.com, where they always say snitches get stitches.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah. So maybe like I think we should first do some table setting and talk about the absence or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
But
also what happened.
But also,
happened.
yeah.
We were going to be honest about it. We decided, like, what do we say and how much do we say?
Yeah.
And we're just going to be straight with them.
But and just because this is probably going to be a long episode,
not Javier.
We are going to, Amy.
We're going to be. I
feel like,
baby. We're going to be.
Wow. Only Brian sees me.
Yeah.
He's an ally. Lord knows, ally.
Let's
In
not
my
go
own
crazy.
way, I kind of am. Yeah.
No, don't go crazy. So we are going to talk about obviously the violence at the Trump rally last weekend, the assassination attempt, the Biden age question, the courts. We're going to cover a lot of different things, just if you're like wondering. But first, let's do some table setting. So, I've said many times on this show, and when we talk about it, like when we go to the Humphrey, whatever, that always the premise was people who disagreed talking with each other, and it was important for it to be funny because humor, just and not literally like comedy funny, but just because we only have Brian.
Waka waka.
But just like the way you talk with friends where people make jokes, because humor is about breaking boundaries, and our lives have become so siloed in this country that the boundaries are getting smaller and smaller for who you hang out with and who you trust and things like that. And so I was always experimenting that. And I always said that like we started this. By the way, 10 years, 10 year anniversary.
In May, it was 10 years.
10 years. That we started this way before the Trump years. The Trump years.
You guys started it.
We did, yes.
Amy was busy.
And our first funny Republican woman, Mike Franklin. That I said the Trump years made it a lot harder to have those conversations because everything became so sharpened and so hard. But what kept me going was it simultaneously felt more important to do, But like the weeks leading up to the hiatus, I'll say for me personally, it was like I was like dreading. We'd had one I don't even remember what it was, but there was one conversation just been like, I don't know if I can do another election cycle with Donald Trump and all this and all the tensions and all this, and it was weighing on me, and we have to take care of ourselves, and so I said let's just take a pause while we figure out and maybe play with format, all things we're still thinking about, things like that. But just to acknowledge that, like a lot of you who probably find it hard to have discussions or getting conversations about what's going on in the world, except with the people who you trust and agree with the most. It was, it was getting harder. I'll say like and this is speaking entirely for me, as I said, I've been concerned about the dissolution of civil society and also the rise of an authoritarian streak in this country. And I was at a conference, and Amy, you remember, you called me, and I was in Georgia at a conference of folks who were it was about Project 2025 and about preparing for a Trump presidency if that were to happen, and scenario planning, and all these experts on the rise of authoritarianism were saying everyone has to get comfortable with the fact that our allies in fighting authoritarianism, it's a very broad umbrella. And I'm going to say, like, this is my framing, not neither
No,
Amy's
right.
nor Brian's. Just saying, like, and that we have to be comfortable being side by side and talking to people who we agree with on a whole other issues, but who are committed to democracy. And I had this thought where I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm the only, because it was a very lefty crowd. This is a very, very lefty crowd. And I was just like, I'm willing to bet money I'm the only person in this room who has Republican friends. And then like 5 minutes later, Amy Koch calls me.
Just check in.
Just to check in. She's like, just wanted to say I love you and I miss you. And I was like, and he was like, okay, all right, this is a sign from,
It was a sign.
if it's from God, universe, whatever. And I'm like, okay, we should start talking about this. So that's my 2 cents on sort of hiatus and coming back. What do you all
Right.
think?
Well, I mean, we've been doing this a long time, 10 years. I mean, how many podcasts do we know that have been going on for 10 years? And then tell me how many of those are political podcasts, and then tell me how many of those are bipartisan political podcasts, and you're probably down to us. And that might be true. I mean, someone wants to do some research, Tony Webster. From Estonia, you want to do some research on that, but it's truly amazing that through not just Trump. Remember, we had all of the Philando Castile and George Floyd and stuff in Minneapolis and Steve Scalise. There were all of these things, and probably a million things that I can't even remember that happened because the president got shot on Saturday. And it's kind of already almost fading. I mean, the president got impeached, and it wasn't even an election issue. I mean,
Wars, everything we've been through.
But in any event, so many things came up that could have made us break apart, or just someone gets a job. I mean, Javier and I have been here the whole time, but Amy's been here a long time, and we've had Mike Franklin and Karen Maratz and Denise Cardinal and a slew of other people that have contributed, and we've been able to keep it going. And we needed a break, and it happened to coincide with the Minnesota legislative session, which was extraordinarily busy. So I think it came at a time where it was needed by all of us to a certain degree, and now we can come back energized, refreshed. We missed a lot of good stuff, the cat burglar, Senator Cat Burglar,
doggone it,
all kinds
so much fun
all
with
kinds of
Senator Cat
stuff,
Burglar.
which seemed now like
I have to say, I was both like, oh, damn, this would be really good. And also, I'm like, I don't really want to talk. This is embarrassing. This is terrible. We had there's a literal cat burglar senator.
Cat burglar. She was burglarizing.
That was
at
bananas.
best.
Anyway.
At best. We'll have to do
For
we'll
our
have to kinda
non-Minnesota
go-
listeners, if you didn't hear about this, just Google Minnesota Senator cat burglar. You'll
it.
get a treasure trove.
Or Senator Nicole Mitchell is probably the easiest way to do it.
I don't know. It's kind of like Googling Amy Koch.
DFL.
Either one.
DFL.
A lot of stuff. Yeah, but before,
Certain things are going to come up.
and we've had a number of years where the Republicans have been having L after L after L after loss, loss. And now in the last couple of weeks, the Democrats have been having a lot of trouble. So my question, maybe to Javier, but maybe just to all of the Dems listening, is this how you guys felt the whole time? Like the sense of calm that you get a little bit just sitting back and watching people fight that you have nothing to do with?
The last few weeks have made you feel calm.
Well, there's been nothing
Prior
for me
to
do.
the last Saturday.
Well,
But
I mean, not the attempted murder of the president, but
Former
Biden being a stumble bomb, that stuff was like, oh, I just want to sit back and watch the Democrats fight. I'm more used to you guys watching the Republicans do stupid stuff.
Yeah, I mean, no, I would know because I'd say Minnesota, we have been winning things. I think that nationally that certainly has not felt that way, but also I mean, and I mean this honestly, my overwhelming feeling in politics in the last few years has been of dread and a feeling of ominous things lurking. So I genuinely have not been over your party has gotten like so extreme on like being a cult of personality of Trump and all this that losing in 2020. You guys losing 20, sure, I may be happy that you lost, but like how quickly then people pivoted from, being angry about the insurrection to downplaying the insurrection to saying we're like it was just depressing. It was just depressing.
You seem to enjoy Tony Lazzaro and our state party having $57.
No, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. No, okay.
So,
I'm sorry.
Here's what I think we've learned. A few things that I've learned over the years doing this. So a couple things, like everything that you both all said, of course. And it is hard. And so I think that's why it's important that we tell people that, because I think some people sometimes get an idea that like we just do this and it's not easy for us. So like they come to us and say, help us, teach us how to get along with my uncle who I cannot speak with, or even my brother who now we no longer talk. And it is just hard. It takes work. It takes intentionality. I think that sometimes sometimes you just have to think about what you were going to say and shut up about that. And I don't know how to say that, but sometimes, so people may think well, we don't have a normal show where we just smack at each other, right? That's not, our thing is not Crossfire or something where I bring up something and then you must argue back. Actually, what our show is about is having a discussion, but listening to the other side respectfully, even though you don't agree with anything, right? You are on the show with people that you are not going to agree with. And it's disrespectful to be sometimes internally when Javier or hell if Brian speaks, I want to roll my eyes, right? I'm like, ugh. That's not the point of the show. The point of the show is we listen to each other, we discuss. Sometimes it does get hot, but the point is that in the end we're friends. And some of my favorite episodes have been where we've gotten kind of super hot or sort of stabby, and then somebody will make a joke that's just ridiculous and silly, and we laugh and remember why we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, and I will say too that in the absence, and so we touch base occasionally, Amy and I more, and then we had brunch a few weeks ago at the best brunch place in Minnesota.
You guys
apparently,
didn't believe me.
Self-described,
Yeah, I told them.
Mendota Heights.
Is the Copperfield? Is that what it's called?
In Mendota Heights. Just as an aside, I drove back, it's near my house because it's near the west side of St. Paul. And then it suddenly popped up, and then it said, "We're the best breakfast." I'm like, okay, settle down, people. It's a little, but then we had breakfast, and it was actually pretty decent.
Best breakfast.
Anyways, what I noticed about myself about not being in conversation with you guys, is that first, just that when we started this podcast, Brian and I had become friendly over Words with Friends and whatever, and despite his terrible vocabulary, we were funny with each other.
That's it.
Yeah. No, but I did not I have a Republican brother and we remain in touch because we do not talk about politics. And so it was back to a place where I was not talking to Republicans at all. And so things would come up in the news or whatever. I can't even think of an example where I would think of what you guys would think of it. And
isn't that interesting?
And what I would go to was my stereotyped assumption about what they're probably fine with this, and I just noticed myself thinking that
more,
and then and thinking but this is what silos do,
right?
This is what happens in silos, and so for me that part it scared me a little because that's the thing. That's the thing about the dissolution and stuff is that we become when it's and the worst case is when there's violence, it's you don't see the other person as human, because if you truly did, you wouldn't be doing that.
Right.
And so that was.
So one, I think it's important that you even thought about it. We still do think about we think about what the other side of it is. People always also say does it listening to someone from the other side doesn't make you softer. It actually just clarifies why you think what you do. It has made me more certain of some of my conservative ideas, and it has made me on other ideas question, okay, well, why exactly do I believe that? I think that people that are afraid to enter into debate, and also you guys are particularly, you guys are smart, super informed, and so we say iron sharpens iron. You make me like better and stronger. Brian, yes, but also Javier makes me more like certain of what I believe and how I believe it and why I believe it, because you make me defend it every week. And isn't that better than just, I can go to Wright County and I can spend, I could live in Wright County and just talk to people that think what I think. And I love Wright County, but like, it's not going to, it's
so something you said, I'd ask you, because I do like, I think it doesn't make you change your mind. I do think it makes you, if I'm honest, it makes you more careful with your words.
100%.
And it makes you think about how to phrase something.
Right.
In a way that is there, and that is fine. Like, I mean, like, when you're with friends, I could have shorthand but it's not going to be useful to start from like, you Nazis or whatever.
Right. That might close down.
Anyway, sorry, go.
No. I was just saying, no, I think that's 100% right, because I think that one of the issues with silos, and this is not just political, it's everywhere, because sometimes you are siloed not by choice, but by geography, or your hometown might not have people of color in it. You might not have a friend that is gay or something else. But my world has expanded tremendously through Javier and working at the Capitol and all of that. And I think what you said about choosing your words carefully is that now when I am going to tweet something or type something or say something, I have a frame of reference of somebody who I know, respect, love, whatever it might be, who is in a group that is 100% different than mine. And it does from time to time make me think, okay, well, how would that person react to that? Do I really need to say that? And that doesn't mean that I'm pulling punches as much as being able to stay in the debate and keeping the debate respectful. Because if you we talked about this years and years ago, if you use certain words, the walls come down,
right,
or the whatever comes down, and then you are done having an actual conversation, and you're just shouting facts at each other.
And
if
getting yourself all worked up too. You do yourself no favors, you do them no favors. No one's convincing anybody, and nothing is getting done. Only anger. Yeah. And also, just one correction for Javier: you have a hot Republican brother.
Okay.
I just want to.
His sister is good looking too.
Okay. A,
I just want to.
I need you both to shut up. A. B. How weird would it be if I called my brother my hot Republican brother? You weirdo.
I know. I just want to put it out there.
Just a correction, Javier. It's not a correction because I would never say that. Also, you freak. Stay away from my family.
I want the listeners to know.
You can call your sister beautiful.
It's important for the listeners.
No, my sister is very beautiful, but like it was actually the otter who was always on me about my sister. I'm like,
I was always.
I'm like, with that, it was like, I'm about to punch you in the face. I'm just.
For your brothers, you don't care? I can harass
We're back, everybody.
I really don't care.
Oh, okay.
Stabby as ever.
Well, hey.
My sister's not a Republican. Stay away from her.
When have I ever been attracted to a Republican?
Fair. That is a fair point.
Neither.
Yeah.
In any event, so before we kind of launch into, like I said, we're sorry.
No, go on.
No, we're going to have a long episode. There's lots to talk about. But before we get into that, I just want to once again thank our producer Gabe Noah for keeping our slot open and being very collaborative. And in some of the a couple times we were going to do this, and then something popped up where we couldn't do it. So thank you to that. We also want to send you to our website, www.wrongaboutEverything-podcast.com. So thank you so much for checking that out as well. And then you guys just ready to get into it?
Yeah,
let's
go.
So this past weekend, I was in Iowa with my lovely wife Jenny. We were down there, and we were at the Winneshiek County Fair in the Decorah part of Iowa to see a country artist that we enjoy. And while we were walking around a very small county fair, something that makes the Dakota County Fair in my area look like the Minnesota State Fair, we just, with bad Wi-Fi, I kind of just started getting dribs and drabs that something had happened at the Trump rally. And if you all recall, At first, it was Trump fell. Then it was that there might have been some shots, we don't know, or that there was some glass that cut his ear, and then we finally found out that he was legitimately shot, and everything that came after that. So we were all, the three of us were alive for Ronald Reagan getting shot, but we were kids. I mean, I don't remember. Yeah, we were 8, 9, 10, 11 years old.
I was playing baseball.
You were?
I remember very clearly someone coming. I was not well, but I was playing. I was in the baseball team, and someone came over and said, like, the president was just shot. Like, yeah.
And you remember? And
I was probably 8. I don't know, something like that. But
well, what was it? 1980.
1980, so in 80, I would have been 11.
Yeah. Because I remember, I was living in Illinois at the time, and James Brady was from Illinois. So, that was kind of, the president being shot was a big deal. And frankly, Ronald Reagan was from Illinois as well. But there was a real local angle with James Brady. So I remember it, but I was also a kid. And in fact, just quick deviation, my Republican or political origin story started right there, because I got out my crayons and I wrote a get well, Mr. President letter, sent it to the White House, and Ronald Reagan sent me back, a signed picture and, all the same stuff he probably sent to every kid. But from that moment, I was hooked. So if you want, my mom always says, I don't know how you raise a Republican Cub fan on the south side of Chicago. Well, that's how it happened. It was that.
That's how it was for me and the Dukes of Hazzard.
Thanks, Mama McDaniel.
Yeah.
For doing the impossible.
But in any event, so now we don't know everything.
We know a lot more.
We know a lot more. We know the would-be assassin's name, which is Thomas Matthew Crooks. We don't have much of a motive. There's many things that are very baffling about this. One of which is that with all of the social media, with all of the different, all the people he knew in community college and in high school, that no one seems to say that he had very much of a political ideology that was professed at all. The FBI and other agencies are working with the different social media platforms to be able to scour his stuff.
And they did break into his phone.
They got
his phone.
They did say that.
They haven't really talked about what they found.
It feels this. Doesn't this feel weirdly slow?
It doesn't feel something.
It does feel weirdly
something's
slow. You're right.
Something's off. I'm not going conspiracy theory on this.
No. But something's very I just remember 9/11, the day after they had photos in the newspaper of all, and I remember at the time I was like, if we had these photos,
right?
but it's like this far. This many days after, and they're still saying we don't know anything about motive or anything like that. It just feels.
But remember the 9/11, right? We knew they had gone to flight school. We knew their names. They'd gone to flight school. We knew where they were from. We knew it's very. But maybe because he must have been. Maybe he just kept it really tight.
Well, I mean, I think also we should look. He's a young white man with an AR-15. That's a very common characteristic for people who do mass shootings in this country.
But it wasn't his AR-15; it was his father's.
My point is, used an AR-15. It was not in other instances, people have used their parents as well.
But it was, he used it to shoot at the range, and he tried out for the high school shooting team, and was so poor a shot that they not only said you didn't make the team, they said it's not safe for you to be here, which and we'll get to this part too, which
there's a shooting team.
Sure. Trap is extraordinarily popular.
Really popular.
It's the fastest growing sport in high school.
What do you shoot at?
Clay pigeons.
Clay pigeons.
Oh, the hull.
Yep, pull.
Yeah, whatever. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but but it wasn't like he doesn't have a military background. Nope. He would shoot at the range. But not well enough to make his high school team. And if he was purposefully, trying to throw people off the scent, that is a level of Manchurian Candidate
sophistication
and I don't
that can't
sense
be
that
true.
from them, right? He
It
didn't
can't
seem,
be
he
true.
wasn't particularly smart. He wasn't particularly
He wasn't particularly political.
He wasn't
Like,
particularly
there was, like,
political.
he was
Like,
he had
Either
made
way-
one like tiny donation to one of these scam
Yeah.
groups that I get I text
$15.
But I get 15 texts a day from like people who is like future of America, whatever, and it's like it's couched in progressive language, but like it's like they're scammers. Like he did one of those, and then he later registered as a Republican.
And for those
the
who-
neighbors have said that
but
the
he
House
registered
had
to vote
Trump.
in the primary, right? So
Yeah.
he like voted in the Republican primary.
Well, and for
So
people
that's-
for people who don't understand that we're based in Minnesota. Minnesota has an open primary, so you do not have to register as a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. When they say that someone is a registered Republican, in some states you actually have to register in order to. It's called a closed primary. You have to register in order to participate in voting in that party's primary. It's sometimes it's just. So that's what that means. So when you hear registered Republican, it doesn't mean that he necessarily participated in Republican politics or that he had any kind of a role or interest, or like with his $15 donation that he had done anything that was super Democrat leaning or progressive leaning either. But that's what that means. So when you hear
But the shot, and have you seen they've done some reenactments? And I don't know. I've seen like where they sort of have redrawn because the trajectory of the bullet, was pretty clear, and they've revamped. In fact, one of the pictures has the bullet in it. A reporter took a picture that caught the bullet, and at the moment he turns his head.
Well, they're like caught a bullet because there were multiple bullets.
Multiple bullets, but the bullet, like the bullet that hit his ear. Like you could see him turning it. If he hadn't turned his head, like we were literally this close. So for not being a good shot, by the way, and it didn't. And how did he fire? 6 shots?
I don't remember the exact number. And Trump was obviously not the only person that was hit.
Corey.
I have this name here. I want to make sure that we.
Yeah.
Corey Compertor was shot and killed protecting his family, and there were other people who were wounded as well.
So folks that were standing behind. So and then there's other conspiracy theories about I've heard conspiracy theories on both sides, which of course is going to happen. It's been happening. I mean, we still have JFK conspiracy theories, right? But one I've heard it was staged.
But but sped up the speed with which these things, because Elon Musk was amplifying conspiracy theories immediately.
Yeah, I know, and it's just, and here's the deal too. And people want to talk about were the Secret Service? Why was that roof empty? So here's what I will say: what I know, and having worked in government intelligence, it's too big. There's too many people for conspiracies to actually happen like people think that they happen, right? It is too often. Like someone who is alone or like somebody that messes up, because people are human and they mess up. And so what I do question is, why was there no Secret Service or local police stationed on that roof? That rooftop was so close to the president.
Anyone who has watched one episode of NCIS would assume, oh yeah, they're gonna have snipers on the roof.
They had snipers on other roofs.
Yeah, but this 20-year-old somehow thought, I'm going to drive there with explosives in my car, with my gun. I'm going to be able to get on top of the roof, and I'm going to be able to get a shot off. Who would even think that
went
would
up
be
twice.
possible?
He got on the roof with like a sight, and he did a sight. And then he got back down and got the bag with the gun and climbed back up.
Well, and there's now video confirmation of people pointing out to cops saying, "Hey, there's a guy on the roof."
Oh yeah, and I don't know who they were trying to talk to or what, and also what you had is Secret Service internal perimeter, middle range. I think was local law enforcement, and then you had like FBI further out. And still, what I'm saying is, it's not a pro. He wasn't a particularly good shot. The roof was, for some God only knows reason, empty. The Secret Service chief actually said something about it being a sloped roof, so he didn't have people up there. But literally, the snipers are on another roof that's sloped. So I just think this was a terrible mess up on the part of
it's wild
Secret Service. Like that's the only thing I can come up
with. And the article here that says that
that the building the suspect fired from was outside the security perimeter, but was fewer than 400 feet from the podium with a direct shot. And this is not downtown Minneapolis or downtown St. Paul or downtown Chicago.
Is an open field.
There were not that many roofs to say just put a guy up
No,
there.
you're right. You're right. You're right. There was like 3 buildings. And
Yeah.
snipers were on
And
one or
if you're
two.
watching
Look
us,
if you're watching the video, you can
Gabe
see.
is very dutifully putting up. And we've been, the 3 of us have been to 400 of these, 500 of these. I just would, if I had a beef with somebody, and this is the route I took, I would never assume that I would
in a
be
million
able
years.
to get that
Not in a
close.
million years.
And there's gonna be people that are gonna lose their jobs. There are people who lost their lives for what is an unforgivable error, whoever's error it was. And for everyone who thinks that the Republicans and or the Democrats have, and I think one of you said this just a few minutes ago, have the ability to do these grand conspiracies. They don't. There is incompetence. That whenever you have humans involved, you're going to have people who don't do their jobs. And I don't know if there was how you can even have in this climate a lackadaisical attitude toward this. RFK Jr. prior to this didn't even have Secret Service protection.
Right, he
which
does now. And he should rightfully. But even that too, you're not talking. So every presidential candidate at some point when they become a major political party candidate gets their protection. That's typical. But also a former president always has
Always,
secrets.
yeah,
always
for the rest of his
has
life.
protection
For the rest
for
of-
his rest
for
of his
the rest of
life.
life.
So this wasn't just even your normal presidential candidate. This was a former president who always has it.
Right.
It's just, if, again, you look at the pictures, it's unbelievable how close this was. It's ridiculous. So, political wins. Of course, there were some unbelievable pictures that came out of this. Trump was behind the podium. Secret Service helped him up and took him off the stage after they kind of secured. So they took out the shooter then. The snipers took out the shooter fairly quickly then. Too late, but fairly
You can
quickly.
see them, and you can see them hesitate.
Yeah.
In the
'Cause it-
video.
Well, because I think, again, with the sloped roof, like he would pop up and pop down. And so there are some pictures where, Trump is standing up with like blood on his face and like his fist raised to let people know, like, I'm here, like I'm staying strong. And it's, there's some very emotional photos that have come out of this.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Like whatever side you're on, however you feel about, like these have been some really unbelievable images that came out of this.
And I'm not blaming any. I don't know enough to know even who to blame, other than that this just can't happen. I mean, there's no excuse for what happened. But in the article that I referenced earlier, it says a Butler Township police officer climbed up on the roof and tried to engage the gunman, who turned his weapon to the officer, causing him to retreat back down. And then he shot the president. That happened before he shot the president. How is that? How is there not someone who like alerts the other snipers? Who obviously I don't understand. And I
don't get it.
We can't understand. This is just an f up of epic proportions.
Yeah.
Thank goodness he is okay. So sad for the loss of life. But, thankfully, Trump was actually walking down the plane that night. He was going to delay, because, of course, and he couldn't write this, 2 days, this happens 2 days before the kickoff of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. He was going to delay his trip to Milwaukee, and I don't think anyone would have blamed him. But he did not. He actually showed up for the first night on Monday. He is set to speak Thursday. And so this will be interesting too. He's made a lot about how he's actually rewritten his speech. That his normal speech
Is that
which
tonight? Or
What's that?
Is that his speech tonight?
I think it's Thursday. Thursday night is his speech, his final night. He made a lot about how he's rewritten it, that he didn't feel, given the circumstances, that his normal. I think he said basically very Trumpy way. He said, it had a lot of doom and gloom about the other side, which isn't wrong, but I don't think it's right to do it and appropriate to do it in this. So I'm interested to see what the speech is going to look like, and to hear from him, which will be the first, sort of long form speech that we have heard from the president. He did announce, and this is, by the way, a surprise, on Monday or Tuesday, right before the convention started, he announced his VP pick of J.D. Vance, senator from Missouri.
Ohio.
Ohio. Writer of Hillbilly Elegy. And by the way, I've heard from Trump folks, they had no idea. That was not planned at all. That was his decision to announce his VP pick that day.
Well, and one of the things that I have a couple of things that I want to talk about,
Sure.
but let's stay on Vance for a second. I'm wondering whether the assassination attempt affected or impacted the choice. Now, Vance is a name we've heard. Vance is somebody who went from being a never Trumper in 2016 to in 2021 when he ran for Senate, aligning himself as closely as you possibly can with President Trump. So it's not like it was a surprising name; it was on the list. But there was you were seeing a few more people that were maybe less in the Trump camp, names like Marco Rubio and Governor Doug Burgum and other people like that. And what I didn't know is, do we think that this made him feel more comfortable in his prospects of winning, so that he could pick the person who he felt best, kind of supported him, as opposed to somebody who might help him more in the general election, get
or with establishment Republicans.
Yeah,
I thought the Rubio choice would have been bizarre because it would take Florida off the map, for Republicans, because the Constitution is clear that the president and the president and the vice president being from the same state means that state's electoral votes don't count, and Florida is important.
Right. So I didn't even know he was on the list.
But he was getting a lot of buzz, and there was something that he would resign and take up residency somewhere or something weird. And but the people pushing it was like that there would be, I was most concerned about Rubio or Nikki Haley, as options, because it would give Republicans,
the green light.
Frankly, like you two, a permission structure. She's not crazy. Well, he's a sort of more traditional person. I read a story today about the sort of the Republican foreign policy establishment freaking out about the J.D. Vance choice, because he is of the Putin's not a bad guy, and he's very far on anti-Ukraine funding and all that sort of stuff. He's very much an isolationist.
Very much said he doesn't care what happens in Ukraine either way.
Right.
So first of all, I think it's interesting that the VP picks, the VPs are playing very much. It's not even interesting. It's no reason, right? We have a 78-year-old Trump and will be 78, and Biden will be 82. And so obviously America has to think and look to the vice presidents, because the odds just demographically is that for the next 4 years you may have something happen to it's just odds.
I have it on good authority.
And I'm just talking about older. Their age indicates that.
Unless Joe Biden is the real, what's his name? Buttons.
Oh, Benjamin Button.
Benjamin Button.
Oh, he's been going backwards. I think.
We'll get to that. There's there are a lot of people in my party who seem to think that. Or hope that.
Think what?
We're really hoping that.
So people that live in the real world have been paying attention to the VP picks. I said J.D. Vance. I've been saying it's been going to be J.D. Vance. I'm not shooting my own horn. He seemed obvious to me.
It wasn't surprising
He has
at all.
been.
No.
No, he's incredibly loyal to Trump now, which is interesting. And he has a response when they ask him, "Well, why? You were never Trump. What happened?" He goes, "He changed my mind," which is, it's an
And
easy
to that
thing.
extent,
I mean,
point,
but the
there's-
thing that's odd about the choice though is that like all of like in terms of policy positions, like because like our big issue is that we have like the lack of enthusiasm for Biden to downright dislike to like just people just being concerned that he can't do the job, like is a heavy lift for our side, but like your side is your policy agenda is very unpopular, and so like and JD Vance like is like national abortion ban is like he is all the things that the Project 25 that now everyone acts like they didn't never heard of before, like he's signed off on all of them. So like he's a very extreme candidate for like the Republican voters who you all lost, like namely like suburban women, like because he's very far out there. So that was the part that was surprising to me.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
I just think he looked at he's young, grew up hard,
and he kisses my ass.
He's loyal.
Yeah.
He's young.
He literally like that's a quote.
Hard scrabble guy.
Like Donald Trump said about him. He kisses my ass.
Yeah. But also, I heard that the president likes that he's a really smart guy. He's great. He's a great speaker, public speaker.
Yale out here.
I mean, so.
Further example.
And the Ohio State University. But in 2016, and I'm reading from a Politico article from obviously very recently. In 2016, he said on Charlie Rose, he says, "I am a never Trump guy." That same month, he tweeted, being JD Vance tweeted, "My God, what an idiot," about Trump that same month. He referred to Trump as cultural heroin. And he voted for our good friend Evan McMullin in 2016, though he did vote for Trump in 2020.
I have a side story.
You and Amy both.
Yeah, but what is also, but anyway,
Yay.
Why I was not at all surprised that this was the pick. Like Amy said, it seemed very obvious the whole time. In light of the major problems that Joe Biden was having, I wondered, I don't know, hope is the right word, I wondered whether Trump would say, "Oh my gosh, I have a huge opportunity here. I'm going to pick Nikki Haley or somebody else to try to," because now he had the opportunity to get some of those groups that he maybe thought he couldn't have gotten. And so when I heard the pick, I was like, oh.
I was like meh with it.
Yeah,
I was like unsurprised.
If it would have been Nikki Haley, if it would have been Marco Rubio, I don't think it would have affected my vote, but it would have made me have to think about it. And the reason why it probably wouldn't affect my vote is because I reject the notion, and there's lots of people on the left that say this, I reject the notion of you're voting for a ticket. Yeah, Biden isn't all there, but we're voting for a ticket. We have a lot of faith in Kamala and whatnot. And what I said, this is prior to the assassination, but I said this to a family member. I said, so if he picks Nikki Haley, does that mean you would understand if I voted for Donald Trump? Because I'm voting for a ticket, and my respect is with Nikki Haley. I think that is not a good thought, and so I had rejected it pre-assassination attempt. But if it would have been one of those people that we talked about, it probably would have made me go, oh, I need to potentially recalculate.
So let's see. I'm just trying to think of working. So assassination attempt, JD Vance, launch right into
JD Vance's his family member was the Hatfield who shot the McCoy.
Oh, really?
It's according to Politico.
Okay.
According to Politico,
It's a deep cut into white history.
Well, yeah. But if you've never heard of the Hatfields and
white
McCoys,
history.
that's where the hillbilly part comes very honestly.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hillbilly elegy has been held up and has by both sides as sort of an explainer on why Donald Trump rose to power within the Republican Party.
Right.
A disaffected impoverished.
Listen.
lower
After
middle class
I was just
or-
talking about this the other day, like after
folks.
I want to say it was 2008 that I saw a map. I think it was either 2008 or 2012. I think it was 2008 when Obama ran. That like it showed all the parts of the United States that voted for. The counties that voted
Yeah, the counties.
for John McCain in higher numbers than they had voted for George W. Bush, and it was a trail from Appalachia down into like Oklahoma and Texas and all the places where people from Appalachia have settled down, and which is the point of the analysis was not like, oh, these people hate, like it's because Obama's black and he's and they're racist. It was actually a really interesting and it made me go deep dive into like all this mining history and mining
I was just going to say,
mining
let's
music.
look at in Minnesota the Iron Range.
Yeah, right. No,
Right,
like,
yep.
but and in particular that if you remember, like I think it was Bobby Kennedy who did a tour of Appalachia, and it was like highlighting the poverty of but like the feeling in Appalachia is that was probably like the last moment that anyone gave a shit about poor white people. And that what as often happens with groups that are oppressed, rather than turn against like looking up, they look to that there was a feeling that the civil rights movement was like, oh, so like the country feels terrible about all the horrible shit that was done to black people, but do we feel terrible about all the things like because there is the capitalist oppression of poor people in Appalachia the history is astounding. I mean, it's like from the mining the mining companies to like the opioid crisis, like where literally like Pfizer and all was it Pfizer the other one the family
Sand something with it.
They were literally like their emails. They're like literally like send more there because there's nothing to do and there are a lot of people in physical pain and then became addicts but it just and so I went through a period where I was listening to all this like old mining like union music and it's beautiful and fascinating and like but I think that like that's the strain of culture that he's writing about in Hillbilly Elegy. I haven't read the book, but that's was my sort of understanding. But
no, and this article, and Gabe has the headline up. It's a political article. It's like 55 things to know about J.D. Vance. I learned a lot. There was a lot of things in here that I didn't know about Vance. Some of which made me think, that's kind of cool, and some of which I already knew. But just the Vance is descended from hillbilly royalty on his father's side. His grandfather's distant cousin, also named Jim Vance, married into the Hatfield family and is rumored to have committed the murder that instigated the legendary Hatfield-McCoy feud. I don't. What this article gave me, I guess, more information on is that J.D. Vance isn't a mindless stooge. He may have chosen to align himself with President Trump, but he is actually an extraordinarily bright guy with a very, very, very interesting background.
39, you don't end up as the VP pick without being pretty talented.
The dude decided to make to turn in a very like cynical way, he is like his position, like he is like fire the entire civil service corps in the federal government, like all of the tenets of Project 2025, all that, like he's fully on board. He like was he moves to like is once police to be able to track the records of people getting abortions. If people from states where it's banned to get abortion records from states where it's not banned, so that they can be prosecuted in there. Like he is very like he made a very honest. Like he spent some time kissing up to folks in Hollywood, like when like after the book, and then he's made a
and I'm not disputing anything you're saying because I'm sure that it's written down somewhere in this political article. It says he publicly supports a 15-week abortion ban with exceptions for rape, incest, and threats to the life of the mother. There's no way that this isn't going to be clarified, so it will be. But anyway, and the 2025 stuff, I don't know enough about it. It's interesting. The first two people that
Been
talked
Democrats that
that talked to me about it was one, my 13-year-old daughter, and that made me look it up, and then one of my former students. And those are the first two people that brought it up to me. So
No, that doesn't surprise me, but it did come from the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah.
And of all these people, like, and it was explicitly made. It's made as like this is a plan for next Trump administration, and it aligns with things Trump has said. Like, so this is not.
And here's something though. Well, I don't know. We may come back to Project 2025 because I have some thoughts about it, but. We can, yeah.
Before we kind of transition a little bit, we're going to segue into
To Biden.
to Biden. But one of the other things
We didn't forget you, Democrats.
Just getting to the last thing I want to point out on the assassination attempt was almost separate. There is also talk saying that the Secret Service had been alerted prior to the event of an increased Iranian threat to murder former President Trump, and that they had beefed up security at this event based on that threat, which they don't think is connected to crooks. They don't think it's connected to that. But that just even more makes me think, how in the effing hell did this happen when you even thought someone as potentially well-moneyed and sophisticated as the Iranians might be, you have
I just don't get the sense that he's at anything. I think this was just a 20-year-old, human that was disturbed and I don't know. So disturbed to think that he could and had access to and thought he could get even had the idea that he could get away with this. Is just crazy.
Well, and the Gabe has put up on the screen. Does anyone think this will get him elected? It seems almost like the Democrats seem to think something.
Do you feel like that? Do you feel? I mean, the polls. Here's the all I'll say. The polls are showing some bump from it. But
not a wave.
I
just think it's also too soon, right? It's a little soon for me.
Like, it is so long. Like the 11 days to the election is lifetimes in politics,
especially in this election.
It's like, well,
Holy
you know what the breaking news is right now? That President Biden has COVID.
Okay.
I just saw someone tweet like the scriptwriters are really trying to cram too much into this series. Like that was like everyone settle down. But let's actually turn to like the upheaval last week.
Well, right. Was the debate. So Sprang really...
Well, the debate 2 weeks ago, the Democratic freak out last week about it. And let me just say, like, so about the debate, it's funny because I have a dear friend from graduate school that John and I love. And you probably have friends who, like, talk to you about politics. Right.
Yes, sure.
And so I was on vacation for Pride Week and the weekend July 4th, the week after, right? And so I was not going to watch the debate. I'm like, I don't like debate. Like I've said this before, like they make me anxious, whatever. So we get a text from our dear friend.
I would agree, by the way. I don't like to watch them. No, I don't know if it's because there's so much on the line. We deal with politics all the time. People always like, "You watching the debate tonight?" I was like, "Oh,
no, I get anxious." I actually did watch.
Yeah,
I did watch this one, but I don't normally.
So John and I get a text from our dear friend, love her, because I'm about to say some exasperated things about it, because we got a text from her saying, I have to turn the TV off. This is so painful. It's so terrible. And I said, I refuse to watch, which I thought sent the message, like, I don't want to hear. The message she heard was that I wanted it live texted to me.
Shit.
So I am literally watching... I was on YouTube watching drag queen makeup tutorials. Not because I'm a drag queen or I'm going to learn how to do makeup. No, it's just because I wanted to do the furthest thing away from paying attention to the dissolution of democracy in this fucking country. And instead, it was ping, 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 ping. Now this happened. So anyway, I love you dearly, but then later, I'm like, oh, I get it, because I still have not, but I saw enough clips where like, oh, I get it how if you're an anxious person and you're watching this, you would not like. She probably didn't even see my text with saying I refused it all because she was like, oh my,
you
like
to tell
the
her something.
the meltdown, and so. I was thinking, because people were saying like, well, which Biden's going to show up? The State of the Union at Biden or Biden. I was in in Puerto Rico in January, and my father, who I love dearly, is 82. He's almost
same age.
Yeah, he's 80. He's 83. He has Parkinson's and he's elderly and his memory is starting to fail. But enough that it's noticeable. Enough that it's noticeable that I spent 3 weeks with him in January and talked to him last week, more recently, and he was a different person. It's not consistent with everyone, but at a certain point in aging, sometimes things take a very steep decline. And so it's not surprising that the Joe Biden of the State of the Union is a different Joe Biden who was in that debate.
Even in that time frame.
Even in that time frame.
And I would even say, like, if you look back at the 2020 debates, that's a wholly different person
100%
that was debating on that stage.
Yep.
And also something for us to think about, because Donald Trump is the same age as Joe Biden was 4 years ago. This is a horribly hard job. Young presidents like President Obama, George W. Bush,
they leave gray.
Age Clinton, they turn completely gray. It is a heart-stopping every single day as president of the United States. Of course, he is debilitated, and you can see it. And maybe because I also have, I have my father who has had early onset Alzheimer's. He's been fighting it for almost 10 years, and you see the decline slower because he was younger. He's only right now 78. I would say if you asked him who I was, he would not know. He knows me, but he doesn't know, and he can't really now. He's to the point where he can't really have conversation at all. But a year ago during the year leading up to the primaries, I would say, because we do a lot of like local news, I would say I don't know how he's going to be able to debate. He's not going to be able to debate. I don't know what Democrats are thinking. He is not going to be able to debate. It also is one thing to stand up with a speech running in front of you.
Yep.
And have to get on a debate stage and respond. So also people are like, well, there's so many untrue things that Trump said and the moderators didn't call him on it. It's actually not the moderators that are supposed to call him on it. It's actually your debate sparring partner that is supposed to say, well, you say that, but this is true. I never for a moment believed he was going to be able to handle himself in the debate. Even I'd been saying it for a year. Even I was surprised at how bad it was. Like, he clearly got lost. I felt bad for him. He was clearly bothered and nervous and knew that he was struggling, but didn't even know how to get out of like an answer. He would just sort of trail off, mumble a little, and then like end it with something else. Even like the first question, which was about like COVID and Medicare, and like his response was completely
switching up.
He changed the subject from abortion, a good issue for us,
right,
to undocumented immigrant murdering someone.
Yeah.
right.
Not a great issue.
No, but I just think
And
he
the,
got
and like
lost
the
in his-
worst possible framing of an issue that is already that was not helping. But
that's because he started talking.
But
He didn't know
that's
where he was going.
But you could also imagine how that happened, right? That you prep someone, and I think they probably over-prepped him, and he was exhausted.
For sure.
He was exhausted, and you're like, "Sir, these are our strong issues. These are like when you pivot, blah blah blah," and it became a jumble in his head.
Yep, it became a total-
and
That's
I
what it was.
just
It
want to
was
be
jumble.
careful. Like the reason I talked about my father is because I actually think as a country, especially like I feel like there's such deep denial I hear from a lot of Democrats, and I feel like there's almost existential issue that we're all dealing with. Like Buddhist philosophy, like the part of human suffering is like impermanence, that we're not like our brain can't grapple with the fact that everything is constantly changing and things change, right? And what I feel like I wish Jill Biden and the Biden children and grandchildren had the conversation with their loving father. That the very hard conversation that my siblings and I and my sister especially had to have with my father last year about taking his car keys away.
It's
sucked.
horrible. It's a horrible
It
conversation,
sucked.
by the way.
I know.
And my dad got mad. We also took his keys last year.
Yeah.
He got angry. He was hurt. He said, "I'm not having accidents," and we had to say, "You're right. You're not having accidents."
But we want
to avoid that, right?
Yeah, we don't want it to get to that.
We don't want it, and it is a terrible conversation, and somebody should have been having that, but they weren't. His insiders are basically Jill Biden, his sister, and some 85-year-old dude.
Yeah,
But I mean, and I think, and again, but my point earlier too is like you also need to be mindful in real time about like my mom. One of the things I've noticed, I would get emotional just talking about this because it's just a hard point in every child's life, right? When your parents get old, and my mom. In my experience of the last couple of years is like when I talk to her, she's like, "Well, your father's forgetting this," and blah, blah, blah. And then I talk to him and I'm like, "He doesn't sound as bad as you think." But then I remind myself, this is her life partner. She has seen him. She recognizes the scintilla of difference. Yep. And I'm like, no, you didn't sound bad, whatever. And then I'm like, oh, I see what like, and
especially after you went there for 3 weeks. This is the other thing. Like I live here. He lives in Wright County. I don't see him as much as my sister does. So I would always rely on my sister Natasha to tell me it's time to take the driver's license or the keys, right? Mm-hmm. Because when she becomes concerned, then I know, okay, it's time.
Right.
It's time.
Yeah. So Brian, you were going to say.
Well, and what I was going to say is this was also not the plan. In 2020, quite probably Joe Biden was the best person to take on and defeat Trump. And what he said to kind of, assuage the fears of the more younger progressive parts of the Democrat Party was that he was a bridge.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He used those words.
That's exactly what he said.
And they had every opportunity to have him be just that. And then the party could have decided, is Kamala what we want? Or Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer. But whoever is advising, and they say that, as it is towards the end of many, political dynasties or whatever words you want to use, they're saying that Biden's inner circle is getting smaller and smaller.
Oh, for sure. It's down to like 3 or 4 people.
Yeah,
of course.
But
not what do we say about like don't get in a bunker?
Right.
Yeah.
Don't
There's definitely the bunker mentality.
Always.
So now they have so chosen power over party. They so now believe it has to be him, that they've painted them into a corner where they probably, it surprised me when President Biden after the debates kind of like so stridently started saying, "Well, you're not getting rid of me. It'd take an act of God to get me out of here."
No.
Didn't it sound like that car key conversation?
It did. I'm not having accidents. This is my vehicle.
But so now the thing that the Democrats were most afraid of has now happened. Doesn't mean that I don't know what's going to happen. He might still win. I don't know. But what they're most afraid of is what's going to happen is that they're kind of locked into him for both political and
is it too late? Here's my question. 2 weeks ago with the debate, I thought, well, there is time to get some other candidates in. The DNC has not happened. It's going to happen. It's in Chicago, and there is precedent for having a person picked
or a brokered convention.
A brokered convention.
The easiest way would be that after he gets nominated, then later on, shortly thereafter, he says, "I'm out." Then the DNC elites can pick.
Is that what happens? So, like, who? They're super delegates, or I don't understand.
No, I mean, so there is one that like the nomination becomes real, like at at the convention. There was a glitch in that there was a virtual vote call that was going to happen, that was planned for, scheduled to happen on this coming Monday, because Ohio's deadline for being on the ballot was before the Democratic convention was over.
I think Wisconsin and Pennsylvania too.
No, it's just Ohio.
Okay.
But then
There's been talk about like Wisconsin, other states that no, you can't change the ballot. That's not true. You're saying.
No, but
yet.
the big issue was the Ohio thing. But then they actually passed a law that made the deadline the day after the Democratic convention.
Okay.
There's one, like, because they passed that law. There was like a sloppily done thing at the end. They passed the law, but the law says that date, but the law is effective later. So it's a little like, so they're like, well, the Ohio Secretary of State could screw with us or whatever. But like, but there was an effort yesterday by members of Congress to like stop the DNC vote that's supposed to happen on Monday. I've not heard this today officially, but I heard last night from folks in DC in the know that is probably going to be halted.
So the convention is to start Monday.
The convention's not for another month.
Oh, that's right.
The convention's but the nomination was going to actually happen in advance this coming Monday. But and I've not heard news on this.
How would it happen? Like electronically, or
people get on, like on Zoom or whatever. They were going to do a virtual delegate roll call.
Was that to force the vote?
It was originally to deal with the Ohio thing.
Oh,
then
got it.
More recently, members of Congress, what they were saying yesterday is like there's no longer any reason to do it because Ohio changed our deadline. Now this is a way of stopping the conversation about replacing Biden. So
that won't go over well.
We'll
I wouldn't think.
Well, and before the assassination on yes, thank you. On Saturday, I was on CCO Radio with Shaletta on the Shaletta Show. This is before all this happened, and one of the things that was brought up was how upset the African American community gets when they were talking about replacing Biden with Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer, essentially, going over the vice president. So it's once again, it's like, Kamala doesn't poll better than Biden in a lot of ways. There might be a coalescence around her. I could see that happening. But if all of a sudden they did orchestrate something that would allow it to not be her, they're buying. They're buying more problems.
I don't see how a replacement happens. But
I do think there's a path.
But is it
like
Kamala
is it likely I don't think there's a path for anyone other than Kamala. I'm thinking it'll like that if this is a very slim chance, but it would be like Harris Walls, Harris some other Midwestern white dude.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying Tim Walz is any Midwestern white dude. Right. He's our Midwestern white dude.
He's ours.
But yeah, no, like it. I mean, it's like this. We used to say what like a week is a lifetime in politics, or like now it's just like literally like.
And there is still a month to go.
Yeah.
So there is.
No, I think and I think it's important because there's a lot of. There are a lot of people making this case, but again, on my side, and I would say like there may be Democrats listening to this who are made anxious by what I say, and here's what I'm saying. We are running on an idea that we should not be supporting a kind of government that threatens to fire people who don't agree with you politically, that bans abortion and all that, and that is a threat in our mind to democracy. We can demonstrate what it is to practice democracy, and we have been demonstrating how to practice democracy by having this conversation. Everyone's coming at this with goodwill, and some people do not believe that, but we want to win. The people who are talking about replacing Biden, and I personally believe that it would be bananas not to. That's my opinion. I come at this honestly. The people who are saying we must stay with Biden are coming at this honestly. it's an honest conversation, and we absolutely I mean, I think I forget who said it. Someone, the American people cannot unsee what they saw at that debate.
Zero. There's no way.
I don't like
And there's
every
another debate coming up. Which
every
not going to be better.
They already have all the footage they need for all the ads to run. That's because it means that people will enter the booth asking the wrong question. We Democrats need people to enter the booth asking the question like, who has and what party has the right vision for the country. If people instead go into the booth thinking who can do the job and can Biden do the job, like the biggest problem that we have in my daily job, I work for an organization, we resource grassroots groups across the country. Before the debate, we had a Biden enthusiasm gap. I spent all last week talking to people.
That's right. Before the debate, Trump was dead even or slightly up in a potential win anyway.
No, we had a Biden enthusiasm gap. And for my side, our problem was not even Trump versus Biden. It was Biden versus the couch. And it is very hard to motivate people to vote if they think that he needs to and the concerns about age have been they're in polls, they're not and they're real. Like there's we don't accomplish anything by pretending that it's not true. That's just going to say we're coming at it honestly, and it is I also want to say that no, I do not owe Dean.
No, I was going to bring
Phillips.
it up. You know who was right? Dean Phillips, friend of the program, Dean Phillips. No, I think he's probably not pleased about being right. I'm sure it's a bittersweet.
I think he sounds pleased as punch.
I haven't seen him.
But you know what his reaction to the he has the worst instincts. Like his reaction after the shooting was like, well, I'll talk about replacing Biden has to stop.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that it was when it became an ego right about him doing it. Here I was talking about this with someone last night. Remember, because early on in the first year, there was a press conference that Biden did where he was asked, "Are you going to run for re-election?" And he said yes. And I was talking to this person who's been active in Democratic politics, and I was like, I remember that, and I remember we both remembered at the time thinking that's the answer for now because we remembered because we remembered the bridge.
Why would he ever?
The bridge, right. and I think I think the everyone was just sort of someone's going to figure this out, right? And then there was just inertia. And I do want to say, I think my point I was making about rapid declines, because I know someone who was in the White House with the president right after the Gaza war started, who was with the president and said this. He was very engaged and very and anyone who thinks is it doesn't know or does know what they're talking about or right, but that was in the fall. And it's not crazy that someone can be someone who is experiencing decline would be less lucid in July of this year versus last year in the fall.
I also think there's a time spent though too. Let's be honest. We talked about your mom. Yeah. She knows your dad better than
No, that's what. Right? Right. Yeah. No. Right.
So it's easy for someone who's in the circle every now and then.
You know what? I like
say,
it too?
Oh, it's okay.
Remember, you know what I like in it too? The Dianne Feinstein staffers who were running her Senate office, who were and carting her around and pushing and it was cruel. It got to a point of cruelty until she literally died a senator.
Because they couldn't give up the power.
Well, and this was actually what my point was going to be a few minutes ago. Let's take off our Republican and Democrat hats for a second and be all small D Democrats. if we're worried about threats to democracy, saying that you're okay with non-elected people running a Senate office or running the president, the executive branch, that is undemocratic. And we cannot say that we're afraid of these threats to democracy, but these are okay because they keep us in power. That's very transparent to what you're doing, and I am deeply offended by that. And I know that there's lots of people who don't want to have to, people who abhor Donald Trump. They don't want to go into the ballot booth and lie to themselves.
I mean,
they want to believe in who they're voting for.
I'm halfway there with you, because I do think it's like that the reality of like how government works is that like, you know, you are voting for a person and also a team and an ideology and and we judge politicians by who they hire. Like it was like you need competent people and stuff. I do think, but there's a balance, right?
Yes.
But when you get to the point that the person who people actually voted for is not lucid, in the case of Dianne Feinstein, where it was very, very, very clear for a long time, like then that's then those people's responsibility who are around her is not to say like we're doing all the things anyway. It's to call up the senator's family, be like, I think we have to make a very tough decision.
And Representative Adam Schiff today is the 20th member, a prominent member, along with Minnesota's own Angie Craig.
I want to defend Dean Phillips a bit here. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go back because
I
all these Congress people are stepping
appreciate
up.
all the times we have talked about in the past that the Republicans defend him, because that's who should.
All I'm going to say is he had the guts to say it over a year ago when it had this, there would not be this question of time had other folks agreed, and he got beat up really bad for it. Now, what I would also say is he sort of diagnosed properly. His prescription was, well, then I'll run for president, which then I think just made it look like.
And then he aligned himself with the worst people in the world to do.
Yeah,
to make it happen.
I think that the execution of things, the diagnosis was correct. I think things got
it just
lost
shouldn't
in the.
have been him. I mean,
It shouldn't. That's what I'm saying.
he
It's like
should
his
have helped
prescription
usher
was, well,
in
then it'll be me,
whoever that would be.
and it should have been. But he was someone that stood up very early on and said, this is going to be a problem.
But somebody could have followed him. I mean, we
That's right. And nobody did.
We could have said
people put on the blue shirt or the red shirt, and no one had the guts.
But
to
we could have
say,
said
"You're
we
right."
could have said this was a vanity project for him.
Yep.
But then somebody else could have stood up and said, not Dean, but me. Or Dean could have said, that person, not me, and that other person didn't show up other than RFK Jr.
Look, Colin, I would say, like, I think that what everyone was doing was assessing in politics, and I think this is everyone, but it's from elected officials to everyone assessing, like, well, what are the chances that it will happen, and if it's not going to happen, then thinking of their own position,
my neck out?
then positionality and like our position and all this sort of stuff. I think it's akin to the kind of calculations that Republicans have made about what to say or not say about Trump over the years, or what to what does it make sense, and honestly, like in the last week, especially when after debate, when with the sort of like you're not going to be able to God Almighty would have to tell me all this sort of stuff. That's sort of like I recall being a member of a party that did not like the other party becoming all about one person. And like the people who are saying, well, it's just his decision to make. I'm like, actually, it's about the future of our country.
Yeah,
it's about the future.
Well, that has always bothered me about like the diehard Trump fans, right? That will. Basically, I feel like he himself has said, I could shoot people in the street and my MAGA family will be with me. And for other Republicans, like it's not about one person. And I fear that my party has become not about what we believe. Like, where are the conservative values of strong national defense, fiscal conservative, all of those things. We don't talk about issues anymore. Republicans have come down to, do you support Trump or not? And that's the only question that's being asked in endorsing conventions. And that's a problem. because that's about a personality, not about our values. And now to what you're saying is it about your values, or is it about like protecting or standing with the one person that, is leading the party? And it's I don't know. We'll see. You have a month before the next convention.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
So, long-time listener. Hi, Shannon. I said,
Friend of the program.
remember Dean Phillips tried to get a lot of people to run before he did it
did.
himself. No, he did not. Like, I actually want to challenge that. He spoke about other people running. Like he talked to press about that. That is not like he mentioned people who did not want to be mentioned and who then said, I don't want to be like, I'm not running. That is not like trying to get other people to run. This was vanity from the beginning. He was like, and he did not have the relationships in the Democratic Party or like amongst his colleagues period to actually like he this was not a persuasion campaign. This was a publicity campaign.
Well,
and
Shannon's not a Republican. She's majority in the middle. So I can't just say it's Republicans defending him. Anyway, he took a lot of flack for saying something that probably more people should have been saying.
I think that is fair. I think like
He's not running for a seat again because of this, right? Largely because
Did you
of
say good?
yeah.
Well, I mean,
what came about after and his turn on issues and all this is like, I mean, like he just makes no sense now. And like, like his campaign was criminally charged for the deep fake that they did of Biden. He didn't himself do it, but it was the people he hired. Speaking of holding people responsible for the teams they put together, that is just true.
Side note, I'm moving to CD3 now.
Are you really? Why?
I will have to. Because
What the hell?
I know.
Why?
We'll talk about it. I'm moving. I'm moving west.
No, you're not. That's a stupid idea. Where? What is this? Okay,
Well,
folks. He's like,
I'm moving to China.
that's yeah.
Okay, that's a little on the nose.
No, it's not. A little on the nose.
Well,
You're a cake eater now?
I'm Wright County. But
I don't know.
I live in St. Paul.
But I mean, we have to realize that none of these races are in a vacuum. What Joe Biden decides to ultimately do and how people feel about him affects to a certain degree what happens in down ballot races, in the swing states. The Democrat Senate candidate is far, in Arizona, in Michigan, in Nevada, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin. The Senate candidates are far, in front of Biden with Democrat voters. When Dean Phillips leaves his seat, then all of a sudden that opens up potentially something in the Minnesota Senate where the Democrats have a 1-seat majority. So a lot of these actions have ripple effects that can be quite intense in certain areas. So
certainly President Trump had coattails in 2016.
Yeah,
for sure he did, and of course, and then also sort of the opposite of coattails in 18 and 20 and 22. But that's what happens when a national an election. The nationals have so much to do with the down ballot. It just does, right. And in a large part, what you touched on. Not between Biden and Trump. People are not going to switch over to Trump, but people are going to choose between Biden and staying home.
Yeah,
and that's what happened in 2016. The numbers that Trump got in Minnesota, and he got within 1 percentage point. Everybody talks about this, within 40,000 votes of Hillary. And by the way, had Evan McMullin not been on the ballot, Trump would have won Minnesota. He lost by 40,000. Evan McMullin got 54,000. And it's hard to argue that any of those.
Except it also might have been a choice between Trump and the couch for people.
Perhaps.
But I do, and for Democrats listening to this, just to be clear,
he did so much better than Mitt Romney. It was that Hillary underperformed in
right.
such a
No,
big
absolutely.
way. And that is
and for Democrats listening to this, like, oh, we just had a trifecta. I was like, let me tell you, look at the public polling on Minnesota, and I can tell you that I have seen internal polling and we are 100% in danger of losing the state to Donald Trump again.
Yep. No.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it has to happen. And that's there's a lot of work, but absolutely, you should be scared out of your minds. And if you're not, you should be. And if you're not, you better be working really freaking hard. Especially people saying like, oh no, like, and let me just say. Our groups across the country were already planning to run on abortion. We have campaign ads and campaign lit that features Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas in the court, and the joke that has become, and voting on abortion access and on like all of these things. We were already planning to vote make it not about the candidate. The problem is that the problem of the debate is that it made it a lot harder to make that case. That it's not about a candidate because like it brings such a big question, but that's what we're going to have to do, and it's going to be a really hard job. We've never done it before. It's happened in other democracies. Like there's excellent in Brazil, the youth vote was mobilized because like they were like against Bolsonaro. They weren't terribly excited. They didn't know who Lula was. They weren't excited about him. He's an old guy. They were like, and so the campaign was all about the Amazon rainforest, about global climate change, about all these issues that motivated youth, and to vote against Bolsonaro. It is possible, it can be done, but it's not been done here. To the other thing I say to our people is like, oh, there's not enough time. Like the French left in the period went from Macron calling snap elections to them losing to the far right National Front to pivoting and doing something unprecedented and in their history, which was to make an alignment to say that one of whichever, if three parties advanced after the first round, that whichever party, be it whether it's the moderate party or the leftists or the many leftist parties that hate each other, whichever one like was in second place, that the third place would drop out. They pivoted, they did something unprecedented, and they stopped France from electing a parliament that governed by the far right that like is pro Putin and against and all the things that we hear about the far right in this country, that we know about the far right around the world. It is possible. We can do hard things. We can do big things. We can do hard things. And that all of that happened in the space of 4 weeks.
Well, maybe they just got Putin and Zelensky mixed up, like Biden did.
Yeah, it would. Anyway, yeah, no. I just got asked this week, and I said, yes, Trump can win Minnesota, and I think he might.
I think
I actually said
I think Trump wins. I think
Trump wins Minnesota.
I don't think he will. But I think, but it's going to take a hell of a lot of work. And if it's like Democrats who listen to the podcast, let me just tell you, I am not freaking kidding. It can happen. It almost happened in 2016. In 2020, Biden won comfortably. That is not what the numbers are showing right now.
No. And also, by the way, Donald Trump was not campaigning here in Minnesota in 2020. His staff would not allow him. He always said, if I had gone to Minnesota, he came to Minnesota exactly once in 2016. And he said, if I had spent any more time there, I would have won. And that is true. Yeah. He would have. He was right. He is right about that. And then because of resources shifting and Georgia shifting, his campaign couldn't really in good conscience let him come to Minnesota because we have not elected a Republican president since 1972 in the state of Minnesota. But he is the Republican Party. He announced a state director, a state consultant, opening 8 offices. The Trump campaign knows that this is a state that they want to put in play. Maybe they're expanding the map to try to but I do not think so. I think that they know, they've looked at the numbers.
I am confirming for you that it is a very real possibility.
Yes, and there are 134 House members that are on the ballot too. Yep. So right now there's a DFL trifecta. Trump doesn't have to win Minnesota to have the House flip red.
Well, again, that happened in 2016. He did not win. He came very close, but the House flipped. He had definitely coattails.
When they say it's just like riding a bike.
It's what makes politics so interesting, though, doesn't it?
But I'm saying it's been 6 months, and this is the show, man.
And also, it's 3 months, and this election has been like back and forth. Everything seems so inevitable, and I'm not going to be surprised with anything that happens because there's so much more to come. I think.
Well, we hope you liked our first show.
Yeah, Amy wasn't catching the segue
Yeah, I know.
attempt that I was
I'm
trying to
sorry.
make.
We
I
were
was talking
trying
about
to
how
segue.
this is like riding a bike.
This is
And that's been six months, or give or take, and that this was.
I'm sorry.
Was a good episode.
Yes. If you want to join our Patreon, go to patreon.com/wrongaboutEverythingpodcast. There were several people who on Twitter said, "Hey, I'm anxious to not become a dick."
Yep.
Like I'm gonna hold you to that. Hey guys, it was nice to see you guys again.
Sorry to break some news.
Well, I mean,
No, I'm
we-
like,
I mean,
we have.
we're gonna
We're
have
actually when the
conversation.
cameras are off, we're fucking talking.
Well, that's Amy's plug, evidently. But let's do plugs, Javier.
Plugs. I am hosting the Moth this month. Is it next week? Oh my goodness. No, it is the 31st. I am hosting the Moth at the Parkway Theater in Chicago on Chicago Avenue. Doors open at 6:30. The Moth Stories Time. It always sells out. So I think it always sells out. So like, please, and it's such a fun show. So that is my most immediate thing.
I will be on Thursday night, the 10 o'clock, Channel 4, following President Trump's speech at the RNC. I will be doing some live commentary on WCCO Channel 4 locally. So tune on in. Best coverage in the city.
And Amy
I'll
and
be
I,
remote, though.
Amy and I can also be found every Tuesday on the BS Show with Bob Sansevier. And if you want to find us there, it's actually the words thebsblog.com is where you can find us, and any place that you get your favorite podcasts. And then also, I'm going to be back at the House of Comedy at the Mall of America on July 30th. I haven't been there in quite some time, so I'll be back doing that, and I'd love to have see a few of you there. I'm got new material that I'm working on, so I'm going to be showing, debuting some of it there. It's time. It's time. And so that's on the 30th. Spanks and thanks.
I'm just going to be positive and just give a thank. And I want to thank the folks at the Republican National Convention responsible for the executive of the gay dating app Grindr, dating in quotes, who says the Republican National Convention is, quote, basically Grindr's Super Bowl. And to all you homosexuals are down low guys in Milwaukee right now, come out wherever you are. It's fine. The water's fine. I'm always amused. Happens every 4 years. Convention.
Well, the world's
like
changed.
The gay apps.
We don't care about that as much. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, come out and vote Republican. We love you.
I don't know if my video
Just-
is up,
just ignore the
Dave, and
platform.
In the interest of time, maybe I will have to do that next week. I'll do the Republican rap. How about that next week?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yep.
That too.
So
Yeah,
let's not
thanks.
do that. And so I will just say, I just would say thank you guys for coming back. It's been a crazy 6 months, and I missed you terribly. I didn't even realize until I was sitting there staring at your little faces how much I missed you.
Until you told me that you're
I
leaving
know.
St. Paul.
I know, and the fact that we don't even know. See, this is the
uh,
problem. This is the problem with the silos.
Yes.
Some of us make decisions to
I mean,
move to
you could
Edina.
have texted.
Well, I
She
do.
could.
I
The hell?
called, but you were busy.
It's your fault. It's your fault, Javier.
It's not your fault. It's just that, yes, I know. I'll have a hot tub. You can come over.
Is there someone else involved in this move?
Oh, no.
Oh, you just independently decided to just move.
Oh, did you think she was moving in with somebody?
I don't know.
know.
I don't know your
He
life.
doesn't know
I don't
my
know your life. That's my point.
Wow.
No, it's not for a guy.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys really haven't been talking.
All right. Are we done?
No. Okay. So anyway, for my my spanks and thanks, my spank. I'm sorry, I have a traditional spank, but it's
That's okay.
it's lighthearted because it's to friend of the program, Senator Matt Klein.
Yeah.
Senator Matt Klein has long been a proponent of closing the revolving door when it comes to lobbying. What the revolving door is saying that if you're an elected official,
You're about to spank your competition because elected officials become lobbyists.
Yeah, no,
and they take your work.
that's why it's coming, because as a small D Democrat, I care about these things. I care about the lobbying profession. So Senator Matt Klein has said that if you are an elected official, that you shouldn't be able to.
I completely agree.
For 2 years.
Yeah, fuck your opposition. Fuck
your
your competition.
His new language that came out. Please. He has new language that comes out that has teeth to it. The board can impose a civil penalty of $25,000 for somebody who violates this. Now,
if within 2 years of them stepping down, by the way.
Or they could
Does
come
not
on the
apply to me.
podcast and I could ruin their career.
didn't ruin it, just sped it up.
Paused it.
Sped it up. But anyway, as a lobbyist, why would I care? Because elected officials would essentially compete with me, but I do care because
So you should support this bill.
I
but
should,
you don't.
but I don't because
Oh, you don't support
I
it?
don't support it.
Oh, that's
no,
crazy.
'Cause he's a full swamp creature.
because client. No, by not supporting it, I'm saying that they should be allowed to lobby.
Oh yeah, you're right. Never mind. All right,
They should be allowed to lobby because at the end of the day, who are we to tell clients who is the best person to get them what they need? And if you just look at the people that like Amy and I represent, it's not just like these big oil companies and big pharma. No, it's homelessness, it's healthcare, it's the Heart Association, it's things like that. And those people shouldn't have to worry about the political games that we all play about who has influence and who doesn't. They want the person with the most influence because that helps their organizations and that helps some of the smallest people with the least amount of power. And I'm a big believer in that. So this is something that is not new for Matt Klein, but I think it's important. And in the article that came from last year, it is funny that Pat Garofalo he is quoted in there, and now he just took a lobbying job with the Minnesota Grocers Association. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's my spank.
I hope they take all your work now.
My thank is going to be before we get to my clip. I'm going to thank Javier. Happy birthday this week.
Thank you.
It is also my grandmother's 100th birthday on Friday.
I'm slightly less.
She's still alive, so I will be going to see her. But my grandmother, Grammy White. But my real thank is going to be to the Illinois National Committeeman Richard Porter, who came upon Matt Gaetz essentially chirping at Kevin McCarthy, and the quote from it's a clip that was posted. Matt Gaetz was repeatedly trying to interrupt House Speaker as he's being interrupted. Former House Speaker McCarthy is being interviewed by CNN. And the committeeman from Illinois said, "Hey, don't be an asshole." Then Gaetz shook his head and he said to himself, "Don't be an asshole." So this is what we need. We need people that are willing to stand up to people in our own party when they're being assholes and say, you don't have to be like that. And so anyway, so that is my thank to Mr. Porter from Illinois, my home state, where I'll be visiting my grandmother on Friday. So with that, I am GOP strategist and Twin City Sugar, Brian McDaniel.
I am former Senate Republican Majority Leader Amy Koch.
And I am progressive strategist and the Puerto Rican Heat, Javier Murillo.
And we are wrong about everything.
And happy to be back.
Happy to be back. See you next week.